Yeah.
My name is Vera Gurney, and I was born the 10th of October 1930, so I'm now at the moment 85.
Brilliant.
But I will be 86 next month.
And where were you born?
Acorn Street.
Where was that?
Campbell, I suppose.
In Campbell. Okay.
In my day, babies were born at home. In the 1930s, babies were born at home, weren't born in the hospital at all,
So,
unless it was something very serious.
So who actually delivered you then? Did a midwife come to the house?
Must have done.
Yeah.
My Granny Jones, who was my dad's mother, she delivered Uncle Roy. So maybe she delivered me, I don't know. Because
Okay.
there's 3 years difference between myself and my brother. But I know she delivered Roy, who's named after my Granny Jones's son, who died in the 1418 war.
Lovely. And
Okay.
did they speak Italian at home?
My home, or my mum's home?
Your home?
No.
No, why not?
Just didn't. I mean, grandparents were Italian, and before they got married and while they were young, so they learned a bit of Italian, but not like when I was born and all that sort of thing, because my dad wasn't Italian. He was descended from Welsh.
So what did Nanny Jones used to cook for you for a typical kind of meal?
You call it pasta now, but we said macaroni.
Okay.
Or spaghetti. But during the war, these things weren't easy to get. And my dad used to go to the market and buy big crates or trays of sort of squashed tomatoes. Then we would salt them all out, take the skin off. My mum would put them in a very big saucepan. And we had an open fire in those days. My dad built an open fire, so my mum could cook meals on it. Because during the war, sometimes the gas would go off, sometimes the electric would go off, sometimes the water would go off. Anything else that could go off went off, and you had to wait till it was repaired. Well, I was born, it began in 1939, which was the year I was 9. So it wasn't till the 1940s that it started getting rougher. And we had what they called then Anderson shelters, which was made out of corrugated metal, like grooves all the way down it, the back and the side, and we filled up sandbags that went in front, and my dad built us bunks with, no, you wouldn't call it canvas sacking, what the sugar or whatever it is, sugar sacks or anything like that. And he built all the framework and made bunks. And my mum had a big old-fashioned fur coat, and she had a bottom bunk, and she'd lay and pray when we started having the bombing really bad. She'd be like a bear, and she'd be praying all night. Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, Holy Spirit, look after us and all that.
So was it when he built the shelter that you found out there was a war on?
Well, it was already, they had to build it. So we made this like dugout, because it had to be firm in case the houses got bombed, that it could, withhold the blast. When the bombs start to drop and the air raid sirens, and you couldn't ignore that.
No,
that's for sure. And my dad joined the War Reserve Police in 1939.
So was he at home, your dad, during the war?
He was in the War Reserve Police and won a medal.
Yeah.
For bravery, rescuing people and pulling them out of their bombed houses, and went to Buckingham Palace with my mum and his sergeant in the police. Myself and my brother had to stay outside because there wasn't enough tickets for us, I suppose. But when he came out, took photos and all that, but not being sensible, he had his wallet in his pocket, and it got stolen with the photos and all the negatives. Really should have left it at home. He didn't think about pickpockets and things, which he should have done, being in the police. And got a very good, highly recommendation, I suppose you would call it, from Carter Street Police Station, which was at Walworth. It may still be there, I don't know.
What was a typical meal during the war? as a kid?
Anything we could get was okay. You could get fish. Everything else was rationed. Meat, sugar, butter, tea. I think it was 2 ounces each a week. So you can't do a lot on that, can you? I've eaten whale meat. I've eaten horse meat. Fish.
So would it be as a steak? Would it be as a burger? What would you have?
As a steak. My mother would say, "Do you fancy a steak today, V?" And she would go to Brixton and buy horse meat. But when she was cooking it, and my brother was saying, "There's a tough old cow," she would be behind him going, not to tell him. And I didn't tell him till a few years ago that he once ate horse meat and said it was tough. He shouldn't laugh.
Did you try snook?
Yes.
Fish? Yeah.
That
Was it
wasn't
nice?
No. Whale meat, tried that, very fishy.
What would be the most unusual thing you've eaten then?
Anything we wasn't used to, really. The snook
The snook, probably. Yeah, okay.
and the whale meat.
And
I didn't mind the horse meat because that was a bit tastier.
And do you remember seeing soldiers around?
Been what, darling?
Do you remember seeing soldiers around?
Oh, yeah, of course. Not a lot.
Oh.
And someone I knew, he got killed. It was his brother who introduced me to Frank.
And did you enjoy the food rations, or?
When you're hungry, yes. Because everybody had the same.
And when were you told about the evacuation?
Well, I imagine the beginning of the war, when we were at school. And we did go to Devon, Newton Abbot actually, I can still remember. And when we went for a holiday, myself and Frank, I was expecting Elaine, your mum was a baby, and I knew exactly where she lived. And he said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Wait and see." When I knocked on the front door, because people in countries like that, they don't use the front door, only for weddings and funerals. You have to go round the back. Uncle Roy was, what's his name, next door, the man was a sailor or something, lieutenant or lieutenant, whatever they call it, in the Navy. My cousin Joyce was further on, not far from the power station and all the railway. And of course that got bombed eventually. And my mum came to pick us up because I wrote home that we'd had a couple of raids and no warning, it was the truth. And she done no more. She came down and went to get Joyce. And the woman, she was evacuated, said, "No, she's in my care." And my mum turned around and said, "My sister has asked me to bring her daughter home and I'm not leaving here till I take her home." So we got, as we come out the back entrance, my mum said, "I think we must have said there's a plane." Of course it got nearer and nearer and nearer, then it started to dive down and it was starting machine gunning the electric power station, which Joyce was just a little way away from, say, the end of the balcony. And she threw herself over us, crouched over us, and she said, "That's it, Joyce is coming home with me." The woman wouldn't let us have Nana. So we went down to where I was just going to say stationed, evacuated
Billeted.
with. So,
Billeted, isn't it?
yeah, evacuated. And 10 o'clock at night there was a knock on the door. And it was this woman who brought Joyce to my mum. And she said, "I don't want the responsibility of her." My mum said, "That's okay, I'll take her home with me." But of course, the train we caught, it was all full of soldiers. And that's what happened. We were 6 hours late. By the time we got to the station, we was machine gunned all the way along, because I suppose they knew it was a troop train. But they didn't know that ordinary civilians was also on the train, did they? And I kept on saying, "What's the matter, Mum? What's the matter, Mum?" Nothing. I didn't associate all these noises with machine guns, did I, at my age? So anyway, that carried on till we got to the station, and the train was 6 hours late. My dad was like a ghost. He said I thought he'd been killed.
So how long were you at the lady's house for?
He evacuated 10 weeks.
10
Just 10 weeks, yeah.
What was she like?
Oh, very nice woman. It was just her and her husband. And another girl, what was her name now? Katie. I was always at war with him. And it's funny, she slept in the bed with me. I said, it's a very nice house, it's very nice. But I kept saying, but I want to go home. And that's eventually what happened.
So were you
And
and your brother...
Nana went into the pub to get a drink, and of course all the men looked at her, didn't they? Because women didn't go in the pub. But she didn't care.
So were you and your brother together at the...
He was next door.
Okay.
He was billeted next door.
A different family? A different family?
Yeah, well, next door.
What were they like?
She seemed a nice enough woman. She had a small child of her own. As I said, her husband was in the Navy. Might have been merchant... what do you call them?
Sailor.
Yeah, merchant sailor. All these questions are idling my brains. But it's surprising what you think about when you start answering.
So what was it like before the bombing started?
Oh, very peaceful.
So just generally out in town and everything. Did it feel like it was at war?
No, not till it started the bombing. And so I wrote and said to my mum, we've been bombed a couple of times. I said, without any warning. It was the truth, it wasn't a lie.
So what happened when the siren went off? What did you do?
Well, we was in an open field and that happened playing, weren't we? We didn't know what to do.
So what did you do?
I think we were just stunned that these sort of things were happening. Bombs, as I say, the railway station was here, this electric power station was there, and we was not far off of it playing in a field.
But that was in Newton Abbot, was it?
Mm. Yeah.
So what did you do when the siren went off when you were in London?
Went to the shelter if we was able to. If there was only a bit of something each that went with us, Mum would say, grab the saucepan or whatever, and the little case which had the money in it. Yeah.
So you wouldn't leave any valuables in the house?
We didn't have any valuables in the house, darling. It's not like it is today. Didn't have anything valuable.
So just the money? Just
a bit of money, yeah. Mum used to say, don't forget the case fee. And we had no good being fussy, otherwise you'd have had anything to eat. I mean, I didn't care if it was horse meat. My dad always said, they're clean animals. They won't eat anything, they're clean animals.
And
so with Uncle Roy, if he found out it was horse meat, he wouldn't have eaten it.
were any of the houses near you in Camberwell hit?
Oh yeah, of course. Bottom of our road for a start, and we had unexploded bombs, excuse me.
And when you swapped the curtains for blackout curtains, did you ever make clothes out of them?
Oh no, blackout curtains were black, like your mum's
No, the
trousers.
old curtains. So.
Oh no, you couldn't. You had to have coupons for everything. You wouldn't make it. You wouldn't.
So.
We had ration books.
But say those curtains were originally up in your house and you had to change
that would have
them.
been luxurious.
But if you changed them for blackout curtains,
no, the
would
blackout.
you use the
my
cloth?
dad made a frame.
Okay.
And I think he nailed the black material to the frame, and then you put that up at, I think it was dusk or something like that. Because Warden used to go round, and if you saw a bit of light, you'd either call out or go and bang on your door. You're showing light. Make it black, make it dark, so that the enemy bombers couldn't see.
Probably you started your period during the war as well. What did you do for sanitary towels?
Didn't have sanitary towels. You had old pillowcases.
So
Pinned to your clothes. If you wore a vest. Oh, very chic. Hated it. I didn't wear one till I was 19 and called him Frank.
And how did
you had to wash your own, because my mum never did anything when I was 12. I had to do all my own washing and ironing. Oh yes. I didn't have an easy life.
How did you celebrate the end of the war?
Well, we had V-Day, VJ, found...
How did you celebrate the end of the war?
Well, just went round the streets and see people singing and dancing and drinking, but I didn't drink because I was still 15. I was 15 when the war ended. Made the most of it during the war.
But you did some dancing?
Little bit. I mean, it's a bit of a luxury for me, dancing, mixing with other people, for God's sake.
And why did you decide to finish school at the
It
time?
was decided for you in those days. There was 11 plus, and if you passed 11 plus, you could go on to another school. So I left school at 14.
Did most of your friends leave school at 14 as well?
My friend Maria left school at 14 and started, that was on the Friday, and she started work on the Monday.
So what was your first job then?
I went and helped a friend of my dad's for a year. Then my mother had to have surgery and I had to leave because she said, if you don't give your notices, I will. I didn't have a choice. I had no choice whatsoever what I wanted to do.
So you
None
then
at
you
all.
had to look after her.
Look after the shop for 6 weeks with my dad. So that was a good beginning, wasn't it? My dad had to tell him.
So boys weren't made to help out.
Well, Roy wasn't.
Okay.
Roy wasn't. I couldn't do what I wanted, Kirsty. I wanted to do something completely different, but I had no choice.
And when did you start courting?
I knew Frank from the age of 15 because we had a shop and sold ice cream and bits and pieces, and his friend introduced him. He said, I'll bring my friend to see you, and he did exactly that. Then he had a motorbike, Frank, and he had an accident and he started coming round, so I must have been 15, 16, which made him 18 because he worked at the Dorchester in Park Lane, and he started coming round till his leg was better. He had an accident on the motorbike, and that's how he started coming round, you know. And what was I? So say 15, 16, about 18 and a half. And I went to Italy with Switzerland with my aunt. And I knew a young chap who was in the army. He belonged to the pigeon club at the bottom of the road, and he used to wave as he went by with his bike and his clock, and his dad used to, he's home this weekend. Yeah, but nothing came of that, you know.
So was that the first kind of time you met with a boy, or was
No,
Frank the
one
first
Tommy
one?
Smith.
Okay.
Tommy Smith, but he went in the army, but I wrote to him when he was abroad. I wrote to him, and I've still got a compact he sent me when I was 18 with a little note that he wrote and tried to rhyme, and it's still in there. It's still in there. God knows how much it cost him because he was abroad at the time then. I said to Nanny, oh, what's this? I've got a parcel. I went, look, Mum, look what he's bought me, look what he's sent me. It's still in my sideboard at home. Must probably cost him a month's pay or something like that. He's never gone black.